2, 3, 4.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Power of Music Thinking. My name is Christof Zürn, and this is the podcast for people with a musical heart and a wicked job. We're looking for stories, insights and tools from the big world of music to inspire leaders and followers to listen, tune, play and perform in whatever field you're operating. In the last episode, we talked about orchestration and how this expression is getting more and more traction, and many people use it to describe what they do. So here's a list of job descriptions I found on LinkedIn. AI orchestration, cloud orchestration, data orchestration, process orchestration, customer journey orchestration, multi-agent orchestration, and orchestrating innovation. So, fun fact here, when I asked my friends and colleagues if they also noticed that the word orchestrator is used more and more in a non-musical way, most of them replied, no, never heard about it. And sometimes, a week later or so, they sent me a link to someone in their network with orchestrator in their job title. So it looks like this is a weak signal that music thinking is getting more and more meaningful. Or is it just my personal music thinking bias? Who knows? We will find out. And I keep you posted. So, as we speak, and I shared with you in the last episode, I am researching what people do when they orchestrate. And I'm now in contact with a bunch of people I will conduct interviews with to find out what they do. I want to find out what their challenges are, and maybe in a later state we could think about music thinking interventions and how music, or better music thinking, might help. I'm also in contact, as you have expected, with musical orchestrators to understand what they're exactly doing, so then we can compare it, and maybe this will be a podcast or a talk with different people. I don't know now, so we will see. But that's for another episode, when I have more results from the research. And by the way, if you have something or someone I should know, please drop me a line via the usual channels. But today, it's not about orchestration. Today, we speak more about improvisation. And that is something I don't see in a job description, for example. So there's no AI improviser, customer journey improviser, data improviser, or a course with the name Improvising Innovation. So let's see where this will lead to when we dive more into it. So let's try something different today. So today you will hear a lot of music. And I will explain how music thinking and thinking music relate to each other. I will also tell you a bit about the dynamic framework, or as I call it, the music thinking framework, and how it works. So today we talk about music and music thinking. But first, let's have a look where it all started. When I started music thinking around 30 years ago, I checked the internet to see if this term was used somewhere else. And I only found the term thinking music related to a record by Brian Eno called Neroli. I knew Brian Eno, or his work, for Roxy Music, his work as a producer for U2, and his solo albums as well. That felt pretty good. But so happy to have found a unique name where URLs and social media addresses were not taken. I started to name my activities Music Thinking. So this was the start of musicthinking.com, the Music Thinking jam cards with scannable Spotify codes that were a primer 6 years ago for creative inspiration cards. And finally, the Power of Music Thinking book, where I bundled all my thoughts, experiences, and practical experiences to use musical analogies in daily business with a practical framework that everyone can use for their endeavor. Yes, and also this podcast. But back to Brian Eno and his thinking music. I liked the record Neroli, which is in the tradition of his ambient music. You might all know his famous music for airports or the Apollo soundtrack for the film For All Mankind by Al Reinhardt, which he recorded together with Daniel Lenoir and his brother. So they did this as a trio. But in the liner notes of Neroli, Eno describes his fulfilling ambient prescription, his explanation what ambient is, to reward attention, but not so strict as to demand it. Wow, what a beautiful description, and also very inspiring. I just think for a moment if we could use this as a guiding principle for an organization. So think about your organization and the way how you work together like this to reward attention, but not so strict as to demand it. Okay, all right, so why do I share this? Well, there's something new I started, a new project with my two friends, Martin and Bas, whom I've known and played for many years in different bands from reggae to Afrobeat and electronic dance. So we call it MRZ, MRZ, how you want to pronounce it. So these are the initials of our family names, Mühlmeister, Van Rijsewijk and Zürn. And we come together regularly to improvise in the triad of ambient, minimal, and experimental music. So let's listen a little bit more. So when we come together, we first decide what instruments we will use. Connect the electronic instruments like the guitar or synthesizer. Adjust the microphone to record instruments like the saxophone you just heard, or a shakuhachi, circle saw blades, so blades from a circle saw. And these are the metallic sounds you hear in another track, or whatever we bring to the session, and then we go. So we do just one take. So everything is improvised. Nothing that we talk about before or that we say what we want to do. So just one take, listen to it afterwards, then decide if we are happy with it, and then keep it or we drop it. So in the beginning of November, we released our first digital album called Improvisations in an Ambient Space. We released it on Bandcamp first. You might know Bandcamp, and I will put the link into the show notes. And I think 1 or 2 weeks later, we also put it on Spotify and Apple Music, so you can hear it everywhere. And I will put everything into the show notes, as I just said. So you can, and by the way, this is what you just heard. So we have 5 tracks, and we gave them the name of the winds, and included a little association. So, by the way, that's the idea. So we improvised without any ideas. And later when we hear, then we reflect on it sometimes and give it a names. So, but the intention is that everyone can listen to it and let their minds drift. Whether looking out of the window while sitting in the car or in a train or plane or whatever. Or if you're just working. So, and you want not that silence, that dry silence, and you just want to have a little bit ambience around you. So I will play for you the second piece, and the first one was called West. You also heard the guitar, so there are many references also, as you might know, that the first Apollo that went to the moon, people were asked what kind of music you would like to hear when you fly into the moon, and they brought little cassette recorders with them, and in that time they were listening to a lot of country music, so the guitar, that guitar sound. Later I read also with Brian Eno's Apollo, you have this sound, and that's a reminiscence to the music the astronauts liked. Funny enough, fun fact. So, but again, our tracks are completely improvised, and later we just give it a name to, not call it just numbers. So the next song you hear, North, and this time I give you the association that we have, so you can give it a try if this works for you. So for us, it's something like a clear blue sky, walking, hiking in circles, following the northern light. It's fresh, a bit icy, but far from cold. And maybe you hear the huskies talking. this is north. And maybe good to explain what you hear. You hear synthesizers, guitars, and also a saxophone. And the saxophone is doing something that you normally not do, or some people can do it. It's like circular breathing, because the synthesizer and the guitar, they can play as long notes as they want. And the saxophone sometimes has to take a breath. But there's one technique, it's called circular breathing, that when you run out of your breath, that you for a short moment, you put your air into your cheeks. And while you just press the air from your cheeks, that's the moment when you breathe in through the nose again, and then you play. So that's something that the saxophone just did there, and it's and it gets a circular idea. You get a rhythm, and you also hear the sound of the pads from the saxophone, and that's intended. So everything is a sound, and this is what we do. And by the way, that circular breathing thing, we will do a new record in December already. We already recorded it, and that we came on the idea when the saxophone is playing and making noise with the pads, that we took two contact microphones directly on the saxophone, then bring them in the filters of the synthesizer. But there are a lot of technology you don't need to know. I would say just enjoy what you can hear. Hopefully you like it, and hopefully you get new ideas and think based on inspired by this music. Okay, this was thinking music or ambient music, experimental ambient, or any label you want to use. Okay, but what is the link with music thinking? And if you want, you can pause the recording for a moment. And go to musicthinking.com. There's in the top, in the menu, you can find the download part. If you open download, you see on the top the music thinking framework, and you can download it in a PDF, high resolution PDF, and then you will see, let's say, the whole idea. You will see that there is on top something like the phases, like listen, tune, play, and perform. And when you just relate to the music that you just heard, when you improvise, you have to listen all the time. So it's not just do you listen in the beginning or somewhere else. You have to listen while you play. And you tune in to yourself. You tune into what you hear in the moment of your players. We are in a trio, so you have to listen to two people at the same time. You try things out, that's the playing part, and you perform because it's improvisation. Improvisation, there is no rehearsal, you just play. So what I just said, we only do one take, and if we don't like it, we don't use it. So if we don't like the performance, we have the chance to not use it. And so that's the top of the framework. And under the framework, and the bottom part, you see there are instruments. And in business, there are instruments like customer journey, a persona, Lego serious play, a brand book, or anything else that relates to different cues. And the cues, they are in the middle, and there are centers where you can play or play around with, like there's a cue for empathy. That's listening and understanding, empathy having with a person, or also the context, the environment, the planet. There's one cue called personality. It's about being and becoming. So if you be, but if you're active, you're always in the change. And for an organization or a brand, that's interesting to understand who they are, their being, how they are perceived by other people, and also what they want to become. Maybe they want to change. Maybe they want to change the way how they produce, like from a linear way to a circular way, or they want to go in a different direction. So it's being and becoming, and it's the same. And it's like a personality playing music, like you know what you are, you know what you like, and while playing together, improvising together with others, you're becoming someone else. And at least the three of you, become someone else. And the music is more than just if you would play alone. And this all leads into something that I call score. And also score has two sides. It's like showing and doing. And this is sounds maybe a little bit abstract. But the score you could relate in, let's say, in classical music, this would be the musical score, where a composer has written everything down on exactly instructions, and then the composer might have also orchestrated this idea for different instruments, so decided which melody and which timbre, which sounds go together, and who's playing what, and how do you play with it. So in the orchestration, and at the very end, you have a conductor and an orchestra that has to play it. Or score can also be like in jazz music, where you have the melody and you have the choruses, and then you can play based on it. And that's actually something that I call, there are two ways to work with this. Oh, hang on, I forgot one important one, and that's the jamming. Jamming is, on one way, opening and sensing. Opening meaning you have to start to play and to bring something to the table, and your colleagues, your musicians that play with you, they sense what you want to do next. And then you can go and play together on that part. So there's that sensing and opening, but there's also the playing part, the exploring part, and also the creating part. And what I did in my framework, I said, there are two different ways how you can see this. One is like jamming before a score, and the other is jamming after score. Now let's take the last one. Jamming after score means you already know what you want to do, you know what you want to play. So like I just said, in the orchestra, there's a score. Or in the jazz, you have the chorus line and the chords. And then you jam after the scores, or with the score. You jam what's already there, but you want to make it unique. It has to be an innovation. It's not just playing always the same like a jukebox. It's like taking that score and bringing it, exploring it, and bringing it further. And there are more cues, and that's maybe for another time, but that's jamming after score. But what we did, coming together, taking the instruments that we say, for the next piece, we want to take these instruments and that's how we want to play. And then we just jammed. We were sensing and opening up the field for the other players. We have to listen, but we also have to understand what does it mean. Sometimes you want to play in key, out of key, and you have to understand where this goes to. And you bring in the personality, so the being and the becoming. You know your player. I know the guitar player what he might play, but I'm not sure. Maybe he will play something different, and he will surprise me. And it's the same with me. So I try something out, and together we build an understanding of what we do that we could call score. So what we could do, we could say, we take that song that we just played or jammed before score, we analyze it, and we make instructions so that other people can play that song in the way how we did it. So this would be then like creating a score, jamming it together, and then give it as instructions to others so that they can play with our score. So I hope you get the analogy of making music together. And if you replace the music with your organization or with your business or whatever you do, you come together with people, and instead of having that goal and knowing your score that you just play and it might bore you, it's just get together. Start with listening. Listening goes through all the other phases through. That's the orange line in the framework. It's like you always listen as a musician. It doesn't matter if you're a jazz musician or a classical musician. You have to listen and to play. That's like talking and listening. And often we know in business that some people just listen to the moment that they then can talk again. So it's like real generative, like playing together and bringing one thing to the other, to that what very abstractly what we can call score or understanding or our showing and doing, so that we can scale it and make it bigger for others. So that's the link between what we just did in what I say, jamming before score. That's the music you just heard with the thinking music from MRC. I think that's it for today. So I would say, please go to the musicthinking.com, have a look at the framework, or you might even have a look into the book. So there's also, I think, a few passages from the book that you can read where everything is explained, and see if this analogy works for your business, for your organization. And you see, you even can explain music with it. So thank you very much. The last thing, I made a playlist of songs I talked today. So like Brian Eno, Neroli, the Apollo thing, and also MRC. So there's a playlist on Spotify to let you work and dream and look out of the window in the cold that we have at the moment in November, December. And thank you very much for listening.